Hi, I'm Will from Venture to Rome, and today we're going to release the Kraken. Seriously, we're going to release the Kraken. The Kraken tire inflation system from Epic Adventure Outfitters is going to be installed on my 392, and this thing allows me to use this thing, the ARB twin piston air compressor, and connect these hoses to inflate all 4 of my tires at the same time. So it's gonna be really, really great, really convenient, and it's a clever setup. So I'm gonna show you how to install it, and then I'm gonna show you how to use it. Let's go.
This video is brought to you by Epic Adventure Outfitters, proud manufacturer of the Kraken Air inflation system.
So why does having a system like this matter at all? Well, if you're going off-road more than like 10 times a year, having an efficient way to air up your tires is really, really nice. Like, everybody knows you should air down before you go off-road. Saves your drivetrain, it's more comfort, better traction, all those great benefits of airing down. But at the end of the day, when you're airing up, it can be a real pain in the butt to go tire by tire with either a portable kind of external air compressor or even an onboard compressor where you're going tire by tire. It takes a long time. You have to be outside. So if it's hot, if it's cold, if it's rainy, if it's windy, you're out there going tire by tire, trying to get your tires aired back up. Well, with this system, you can actually stay in your rig. You go hook it up, stay in your rig, so you can stay warm or cold or dry or whatever you want. You can not have to be in the elements, and it goes a lot faster. You don't have to watch tire by tire because they all come up at the same time. So that's why having a system like this can be really, really nice if you go off-road a lot. Now, let me show you how to install the Kraken system. So the very first thing we're gonna do is pull this red plug here. We're going to install this T-fitting, and it screws in here, and it already has tape on it, so you don't need to add any extra sealant. Just gonna screw that in, and when it gets tight, we're going to use a 15 mil wrench to just tighten it down even more. All right, so here it is, screwed all the way down. The instructions say tighten it till it won't turn anymore, so you have to use your best judgment. You can see I scored this just a little bit as I was doing it, but step 1, done. Okay, the next thing you want to do is you want to rotate this T-fitting so you can actually reach a wrench in there, and I've got a 10 mil wrench. And there's a bolt. It's really, really hard to see. I kind of had to just stick the wrench in there and see if it grabbed onto something. There's a bolt in there. You have to just slide in there and get it. This is a fixed 10 millimeter wrench here. And you want to loosen that bolt because you're gonna adjust this down just a bit here. And now, what we're gonna do, now that that's loose, we're gonna adjust this so it's sliding all the way down here. And I'm just guessing, because this is gonna go under the seat, that we want to eliminate some of this height here. So we're gonna move this all the way over, like this, and then we're gonna tighten that bolt back up. Okay, now before I do anything else, I'm going to attach this compressor to the plate here. And the plate has these great pre-drilled holes. There's 6 of them, and there's 4 spots for bolts to go in, and they just screw in. There's no nut on the other side. They screw right into these. From the other side of this plate. So I'm going to put this down like so, and I'm going to put this down like so, and I'm going to line up the holes and attach it. Well, it turns out there's only 4 bolts, and that is just the hardware that comes from ARB on this, so they must think 4 is okay. So I've just hand tightened these, and I'm going to crank them down. Okay, we're going to flip this back over, and this thing is heavy, so be careful here. And now the next step in the instructions is to take this hose. Now it has these 2 hoses. It has these 2 hoses listed as separate things, but at least mine, it came assembled. So there's this T fitting, or this Y fitting here, sorry, Y fitting, and then there's a short hose. And in the instructions they say, like, put the short hose in and put it there, but it's already connected, so it's super easy. So we're just gonna take that short hose and just put it right there in the T fitting. That is done.
Okay, now we're gonna take this handy dandy rocker switch remover tool, and we're going to take the ARB switch that came with it, and we're going to just pop this thing in there and pop it off. And we're gonna pop on this one. Boom, I'm not exactly sure how this one goes yet, so I'm just gonna let it sit on top, but we're about to put this bad boy in the Kraken system, so let's get that done. There are 5 connectors here, and there's kind of 2 that are flush on the edge, and group of 3 right here. I think the group of 3 goes on the right. We're just gonna pop that in. That, and then we want Senior Kraken there to be on that way. So let's just make sure that gets on there nice. Solid, there we go. Yep, it's on. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece that comes from Epic. It's a harness piece, and we're going to connect it to the switch. We've got 3 wires here. We've got a purple, we've got a black, and we have a red. The black one goes here on top. There are 2 arrows actually that are pointing towards the compressor, and it's here on the diagram as well. Unfortunately, like, it's pointing the other direction from what mine is, but the arrow is pointing at the ground. So this arrow is pointing this way, and we're gonna plug in the ground. Okay. And then one over from that is the power. Okay, and then one over from that is the load. There we go. Okay, now that this is plugged in here, we're just going to take this harness and plug it right into the ARB factory harness and let it clip. And now that switch is connected to the compressor. You'll notice I have done something out of sequence. I took the pins out of this thing out of sequence. I did that before I put this switch in, so the instructions have you do this first. I just didn't know that the instructions were 2-sided, so I may have skipped ahead. So I'm back on track now. Well, I never claimed to be the smartest guy in the world, and I'm proving that right now. So earlier I was taking apart the wrong harness. And if you're watching this video and you've caught that, good for you, because clearly I didn't catch it until I was looking at this harness, and I thought, oh, of course it's taking out the pins on this harness. This is the thing that's actually gonna be routed through the Jeep. I'm not routing this anywhere. So I don't think you would make that same mistake, but just in case, learn from my mistakes. I'm gonna put the pins back in this thing, and I've labeled them so I know which ones go where. I'm gonna put that back, pretend I didn't do that, and I'm gonna take the pins out of this one. Jiminy Christmas. So there is, in the instructions from Epic, there is actually, right here, a diagram on which wires go where. Okay, now we're gonna do a little bit of work on the harness. We're basically just going to give ourselves a little more wire to work with here so we can get these connectors on and connect them where they're supposed to go. So the instructions say that you should remove about 1/4 of an inch of wire so you have a good connection point with the terminal connectors that we're going to put on here. I'm always nervous I'm going to cut the wires, so I go pretty slow on this stuff. Okay, that should be good on that one, and we'll just do that for the rest. So our brothers to the north in Canada, Epic, send you 3 of these terminal connectors. Now 2 of them are the same color, which is important, and 1 is different. And it just so happens that you have 2 red wires and 2 black wires, but the 2 black wires are supposed to go into the same ring. So, you know, do your math. This is like, I don't even know, this is like a pink color. Guys, it's a pink color. What's up with that? Not that I have anything against pink, but when does that mean ground? And then yellow means power. So I'm not really sure how that color scheme happened, but we're going to put those on. Basically, we're just gonna throw these in here, crimp them down, and then we're gonna heat them up because these are heat shrink. So you get them in there, you crimp them, and then the tubing around it is heat shrink, so it forms a nice seal on there. So while I do not approve of the color choice, I really do like those connectors. Those are really cool. Okay, let's get them on. Okay, now we're gonna do a little work on the passenger side seat. We're gonna remove the bolts, which are T50 bolts that are holding the seat down. And then we're going to install the mounting plate, basically the Kraken system, under that seat. So first we're gonna remove the ones in the front, and then we'll move to the back. Okay, that second bolt is on the rail right in here. Now we're gonna slide this all the way forward and get the ones in the back. Okay, I have tilted the seat back, and the instructions say to release this wire harness. So I used a pry tool here to get this out, and then this harness, you just, once you unlock it, just put a flathead in there, and this comes out pretty easily. There's one more to do over here. I'm gonna disconnect that one, and hopefully we'll be good. There's a drain plug here that we are going to cut a hole in. Yes, indeed. Okay, I'm just gonna use a step bit to put this 1/2 inch hole in here. You know, they said a step bit makes easy work of it. I wonder if a knife would be better. Honestly, the step bit's a bad idea. You shouldn't do a step bit. You just use a razor blade. I'm not sure that's exactly the right size, but we got something. Razor blade was definitely the way to go. Okay, now we're about ready to start running this wiring loom from the battery to the air compressor. So one of the things that the instruction says that's a good reminder is to take both of these fuses out. So remove these things, and they're kind of hard to remove. You really gotta kind of want it. So get these out and then put them in a safe place, because you're gonna put them back in once everything's wired and hooked up. Oof. There we go. Just takes a little bit. Okay, I want to try to show you this if I can. We're gonna feed the wire right down there between the battery holder and the fender. I'm not sure you can really see it, but there is a place that goes through there down to like the frame. So that's where we're gonna run the wiring loom right there. Okay, so this part is staying up by the battery. The part that we pulled out of the harness here, that's what we're gonna thread through. Right. Okay, that is through. So now we're going to connect up what we need to connect here, which basically consists of 2 grounds and 2 powers. So there's a grounding bar right here, and the powers are right there. So let's get that going. Okay, we are going to connect the power here. There is a accessory pole or bolt there that is right in a good spot for us. So we're going to put these on there. And then the ground is right here. So there is I believe it's a 10 mil grounding strip or rack right here. I think I'm gonna ground this thing from down here. Yeah. Okay, this part is a little tricky just because you're running the wire loom around the frame and you want to get it in the right spot, and there's a couple places you really want to tuck it behind and get zip ties in there. And it's you could take your inner fender out, but I think that's just like so much work. This plastic bends enough on the inside, you can kind of get your hands in there. And so I'm just going to run this along the frame behind some of the existing wiring harnesses and get it up through that hole, that drain plug in the front seat here. Probably gonna have to go full-on headlamp for this. Let's go. So maybe you can see what I've done here. Our wiring loom is right there, and I ran it behind this harness here. I'll go back and zip tie it to that in just a second. And then I've run it along the frame, pulling it through, and I'll run it up along here under the frame until I get to that plug that's right there. So voila, we have wires coming right up through there. How great is that? Okay, we're just gonna pull all the excess up. Okay, now we're going to feed these through this here and just get it all together. One fell swoop. There we go. And we're just gonna, that is nice and sealed. And for good measure, we are going to stick a bit of tape right over this. Just to keep it extra sealed. And that's good stuff right there. Okay. So now we just route it along next to the vent here, and we can start putting the carpet back. Okay, now we are going to put these babies back in, which I have marked on here. There's also a diagram with the instructions. Okay, next we're going to take the long piece of tube, it's about 60 inches of tube that came with the Kraken kit, and we're gonna run it through that opening that's underneath the center console. So we're gonna run this thing, we're gonna thread it underneath and thread it all the way through there. Okay, well now I think we're getting to like the fun stuff, because I'm about to put this thing in and connect the power and connect the other hose and bolt it down and kind of call it good. So first you just slide it into place and kind of get it ready and get everything plugged in, and then you actually bolt it in. So I'm gonna slide it into place now, which you have to be careful of the wires underneath here, the wiring harnesses that are underneath the seat, and you gotta be careful of your trim here. It's really easy to scratch your trim if you're not paying attention, but it does kind of fit there in place. And then we're gonna take this wiring harness and plug that bad boy in. Oh, I should also remind you to reconnect the wiring harnesses that were disconnected earlier. So I'm going to connect those now, and then we're going to put this seat back, move things around, and bolt it in. Okay, so we're over on the driver's side now, and we're going to install one of the very last pieces here, which is the driver's side air connect. And so that hose that we ran through the center console and across is going to connect here, and then this is going to be where the air hose is for the tires to connect. So you have one hose that airs up 2 tires on this side and one hose that airs up 2 tires on that side. And this is just as simple as removing a bolt, putting this in there, and putting the bolt back down. So we're going to do that right now. Hose just pops in there. So that's there, and this is in place. So now we're just going to put that bolt back in. Hey, remember these? Yeah, do not forget to put these babies back in. These 40 amp fuses need to be put back in there. And I tell you what, they don't go in easy. They don't come out easy or go in easy. So make sure that you don't press too hard, because I have accidentally broken them putting them back in. All right, well, let's test this baby out, see if she works. Using the Kraken is easy. There are 2 blue air hoses that plug into the faceplate under each seat. Each hose has 2 Schrader valve connectors, so just connect each of the hoses to a tire valve and the system is ready to go. Press the Kraken switch to on and the ARB twin pistons kick on and start airing up all 4 tires at once. Voila. All right, we have air. This is amazing. Whew. Well, the Kraken has landed. You know, this really wasn't that hard of an install. It was just some bolts, a little bit of wiring, and it really wasn't that bad. There wasn't anything that was like really hard. Now, I did my typical dumb stuff from time to time that made it harder on myself, but the install itself was pretty easy. The parts go in just like they're supposed to. Everything fit really well. It feels really high quality, all the metal parts and the tubing and everything. Like they've really thought this through. So I'm really impressed with it. And now I have a system that can air up my tires at the same time. I don't have to like get the hose off and move it from tire to tire. It's gonna be really, really great. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to purchase a Kraken system for yourself, there will be a link in the description of this video. And I really appreciate you watching this. Thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Will from Venture to Rome. Thanks for watching.